Hello, my name is Lucas, this is A Bit of Lit, and I'm here to talk about the downer of the year, Chlorine by Jade. This is a brilliant novel, and it is also deep, dark, and depressing, and I love it. This is probably my second favorite or favorite, depending on the moment that you ask me, a story that I've read this year. It is a coming of age story about a young Chinese girl who moves to America with her family, whose father then leaves to go back to China to work on his business to provide for the family. But in his absence, she feels quite lonely and separated, not having a father figure. Simultaneously, her name is Renyu, or she's called Renyu, which is Chinese for person fish, because she really likes mermaids, is where I'm trying to go with this, if I could speak. The reason she likes mermaids is because she has this wonderful book about fairy tales and folklore about mermaids from all over the world. And she becomes quite interested in this. Because of her interest in that, she takes an interest in swimming. Because she takes an interest in swimming, she comes across a swim team and a coach who acts as a father figure and trains her to be an extremely competitive athlete. However, he also is far more hands-on than any coach should ever be. Not so much that he'd ever get in trouble, but just enough to very obviously make this poor girl extremely uncomfortable. But because she wants to be a swimmer and be like a mermaid and later be a mermaid, she accepts this. She's also too young to really understand what's going on because she's, I believe, 13 when she first meets him. And yeah, this guy's gross. Because it's about a young girl, and it's coming of age. She has her first period, which is a big disaster for her because it comes right. Or she starts having her periods, and one of them comes right at the worst time possible for her, swim meet, and she becomes very close with her best friend, her best human friend, because she's a mermaid. All throughout the telling of this story, she's a mermaid. Because it is in first person, except for a few chapters that are by her best friend, who is a human, whose name is Kathy. Kathy helps her put in the tampon and gets blood all over. There are some sweet moments in the whole story, although it is, as a whole, a real downer because this poor girl obviously faces a pedophilic father figure coach, some race issues because she's Chinese, whether she's spoken to disrespectfully for the way she looks or how she speaks, or her parents face that, or her mother faces that because her mother is still in America, or she's sort of faces racism in a cultural way that is sort of well, let me just give you an example. She has to pick a song for when she walks out to do the swim meet for her race, and she wants to pick a song by a Chinese singer, but this song is called "Weird" by even her best friend Kathy, and that she should pick "Don't Stop Believin'" or what is that Bon Jovi song? "Living on a Prayer," I think it was, because these ones are really cool. And Renyu learns that she needs to conform and fit into this white culture, basically. And that needs to be, sort of stamped out of her. As she grows older, she grows strong sexual appetite. Kathy falls in love with her, by the way. So she's got to deal with that. And she has a strong attachment to Kathy, but there are times where, for example, There are some boys in her life that she gets close to, sometimes to avoid Kathy, sometimes because it just happens. Sometimes she's just got that desire because she's a hormonal teenager. um, and this causes some internal struggle that is expressed outwardly toward Kathy because they don't quite understand each other. Another big problem she faces is that she has a major concussion when she's out having fun with Kathy and doesn't quite heal, doesn't take enough time to heal properly, and this affects her. And I feel like caused her some like early stage CTE or whatever it's called, because eventually by the end, she tells us about how she decided to become a mermaid and she learned to suture her legs together to become a mermaid. And she does that at the most important meet of her life, where a Harvard scouting coach is a Harvard scout or Ivy League scout. I believe it was a Harvard scout. Ivy League scouts are there watching, and you know she's one of the best on the team. So this could be her way into the Ivy League, which will make her mom happy. Of course, she's got a lot of pressure from her mother to succeed and you know go to a great school and all that stuff. Doesn't really encourage her in terms of swimming, except for the fact that it could lead to a scholarship to an Ivy League school. So she got that pressure too. This poor girl just has everything against her. What else? By the end, yeah, she decides to become a mermaid. And this is not the first time that the novel becomes a body horror, but it is certainly the most visceral, and you want to look away, but you can't. Let me just read a little bit just from the beginning, because it is beautifully written too. From chapter 1, you are not here of your own free will. You are here because I desired you first. I lured you to me using my intentional charms, my ethereal beauty, my siren song, my six-pack, my tail with scales embroidered in flesh. Forget what you know about mermaids. For too long you've been inundated by G-rated fairy tales, the blood and dirt in their original draft scrubbed clean by salarymen in suits. They sold you false love disguised in pastels. Thanks to them and the cubicle corporations they work for, you think mermaids wear bikini tops made of shells, swim in salt water, and have flowy red hair. You think mermaids desire either to copulate with two-legged male sailors or lure them to their watery deaths, always or never and. You think mermaids hate their bodies and their tails, though these are the parts of them that hold their power. You think mermaids have no power. You are wrong. And then a little bit later, there's this other brilliant part talking about the diet that you have and the way you train and the way you think and all these things cut you up and shape you in a very... And the way it's written is also like a body horror. This is well before you see the climactic event, which is seared into my brain forever. Anyway, then the rest of the story happens, and I don't want to spoil any of that, but I just wanted to give you something to look forward to, because it's disturbing and beautiful, and it's all about how, you know, young people perceive themselves and how they feel others perceive them or how others perceive them, and it's just so well done. And I look forward to more by this author. I hope that they will write more. If you have read it, let me know what you think. And if you haven't, please check it out and feel the horror that I have felt. Thank you.